This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Come on. We call it the place to be. Yes, it's the place to be. Then I shall be.
It is contagious. It is the place to be, and we are live each and every Monday.
Do you actually need a camera for tout, or is it like part of the program?
Yeah, I like Big Dick myself.
Do you listen at all when I speak on the show?
I'm not the one who thrives on whining about carriages that are 3 inches from my fucking car.
So if it's too much for you and your big cock of the walk Knights of Columbus backpack,
when does it end,
to bring
JR?
the carriage back to the fucking thing, then what do you want? What do you want?
When does it
You're
end?
making the poor guy making minimum wage while you're sitting there with our Mento going through the coffers. Party people in the place to be.
5 years. 5 years! We've been doing podcasts. And we have this. This is trash.
It's not Austin in L.A. It's not Cabana in Chicago. It's not Conrad down in Alabama. Place to Be Nation presents Scott Criscolo and JT Rosero. This is the Place to Be Podcast.
You can do worse than Josh Richard.
More in LA now, turning up and play out. But every time you see us, we be on some fly shit. Diamonds talking for me, saying, look at my shit. And we buying rolls on some NY shit. Fab and A boogie on some NY shit. Saying, in my bag now, in my bag now.
Place to Be Nation, welcome to the great episode of the one and only Place to Be Podcast. I'm your host, Justin Rosero. We're live here on this Monday evening, back inside the PTBN studios, and joining me, as always, for our 518th time, Mr. Scott Criscolo. Scott, how are you?
Good evening, JR. Good evening, Place to Be Nation. Welcome to, as my PIC said, number 518 of the longest running episodic motherfucking gold standard. And good to see you this weekend. Fun and frivolity on Saturday, and you brought out your old school exceptional videotaping skills. I haven't done that in a while, huh?
Yeah, I
Did
did.
an exceptional job.
I wish I knew how intensive a ceremony it was going to be. I would have brought the actual video camera.
I said that to him. I said you kind of like half-assed it. He would have like brought the good stuff. He's like, but you did an exceptional job. It was very good.
Oh, good. I'm glad you liked it. It was a pleasure to film. The cavalcade of stars that came up to light the candles, and
Yes.
then the dancing, and of course your annual rendition of Scenes from a Time Restaurant. It's always a treat. I've seen you sing way too many times live this year, so I'm good now until next year.
Oh well, Tampa will be a fun stage.
Can't wait. It's coming fast.
Yes. Speaking of a fun stage, we have a fun stage of Misfits this evening because tonight's program, of course, JR, we are on the steps of WrestleMania V, which of course will be coming up a week from this evening, an episode 419. But as we've done the last 2 years of shows, I should say, 2 calendar years, we're talk a little bit about the build and where we've come from and where we are now and where we will be in a week and what could have been different in a week. So we'll have a fun night about that, chewing the fat on the Mega Powers and Warrior Rude and a bunch of other things, and what could have happened and maybe what didn't happen and what should have happened. I want to bring in the rest of our team. What do we got?
Yeah,
Who do we have?
Let's do that. We have a round table with us tonight, as we have in the past couple of years, like you referenced, Scott. And we've kind of done a different hook each time. Like I think WrestleMania 3, we went back in time and watched some other matches of guys on that show. Last year, we talked some tournaments leading to 4. And this year, we're going to take things in a little bit different direction. We'll get to in a second. But joining us, firstly, is a guy who obviously has heard many times on here before. He'll be with us next week to talk WrestleMania 5 in full and proper. And that is the co-host of This Week in Sports with the Cowboy, Mr. John DeMano. John, how are you?
Great. It was great to see you guys this weekend. Meeting of the 5 families. And speaking of chewing the fat, we got to see a lot of that. A lot. There was quite a lot of chewing the fat.
You all right?
Beautiful.
A little too much chewing the fat for you. You having a stroke? Are you okay?
Yeah, I literally choked on the punchline. We're off to a rough start.
No, it was a good time. And anytime you can get Rotella into the mix, it's always a lot of fun as well. So that was a good time. Joining us as well, you heard him here a couple months ago, made his Place to Be podcast debut. He is the host of the Sportscasters podcast, co-host of the Adams division, along with Peter Winson, and that is Mr. Steve Bennett. Steven, how are you?
What's up, fellas? How you doing? I'm
Go
a
on,
little
Steve.
rusty, knocking off some rust. My first podcast since March 21st, but despite sitting here full of shit like we talked about before, I'm ready to roll, ready to go. Excited to get back in the mix after a disastrous month of health issues. So,
well, I'm glad to welcome you back into the audio ring here tonight. We will be remiss to not mention our third guest who is supposed to be with us. Unfortunately, he is ill and not able to join in, and that is my co-host on the No Holds Barred podcast, Mr. Aaron George. Came down with a illness, so he will not be with us here this evening. But we will forge on in his memory and name here tonight. So what we wanted to do on this evening is, since WrestleMania 5 is such a robust card with a lot of matches, I believe 14 in total, and Scott, since we've kind of made our way through a lot of the build-up toward it, we thought what we'd do is actually go through the matches, discuss the build that went in, and also rebook a bit, because in going through this card, I do feel that a lot of it is a bit misplaced, and I do think this card, as great as it is from a nostalgic point of view, and even from an entertainment point of view, could have been even tighter and made a lot more sense based on what we've seen of late with some reshuffling. And I know John and Steve, you guys did some research as far as watching things to lend some credence there as well. So why don't we work our way up the card? We'll go match by match, and this will also save us some time for next week as well, as far as talking build and back up next week and just get into the matches. So let's agree to kind of abstain from talking about the match and the result itself. Let's really just focus on the build and what led up to it, and how maybe we would leverage these different players in various ways other than what we saw. So we'll start with Hercules taking on King Haku. This is a match to me that did kind of come out of nowhere. Hercules obviously had issue with Bobby Heenan, but that hadn't been on display as much as it had been his issues with Ted DiBiase of late. This is my first rebook out of the gate. I don't know why we didn't just blow off Herc and DiBiase here, especially given what DiBiase does do later. And Haku obviously had the thing going with Harley. I think he's a guy you plug and play in elsewhere once you put the major pieces together. So, John, I'll start with you here with Haku and Herc. Anything you would have done differently, or what did you think of the build-up going in?
Nah, you kind of stole my thunder. I agree with you 100% that it should have been where's DiBiase, because they had that big angle with the slave angle with Heenan, and they kind of just they tried to bite off that, saying how getting Bobby into the mix, saying how Bobby sold Herc, but this was a little flat, just throwing Haku in there, and the Jade rule, Hercules as a babyface fell kind of flat, because the Jade rule is that's when you turn the guy's got to win his first feud, and you guys saw around the horn at MSG and Saturday Night's Main Event that DiBiase, although through nefarious ways, he got the pins over Herc, so right away that they slotted him as kind of a lower mid card when you lose the first feud. So yeah, I agree with you 100%. It should have been DiBiase Herc.
How about you, Steve?
Yeah, I only have one note for this one, and the note is, why isn't it Herc versus DiBiase?
Mm-hmm.
So I think, not to be boring, I just think it's kind of unanimous. It's like one of those that's just jumping off the page of kind of a missed opportunity. It was the right time to blow off that feud, and it's not like DiBiase's busy with something else spectacular, like we said we'd talk about later. But yeah, I have to agree with John and agree with you. It just made a ton of sense to have it be Herc versus DiBiase, and I think that was a missed opportunity on the card.
Especially when you look at what DiBiase does. It's not like he's doing something else and we're switching big things around. I mean, his match, which I guess we can transition to DiBiase Beefcake. We don't have to go fully in order. I think we can go where the natural flow takes us. So, Scott, let's talk about Haku and Herc from your point of view, but also tie it into DiBiase Beefcake. Would you have just swapped this? Would you have done Beefcake Haku, or do you want to put Beefcake and Haku to the side for a minute and we'll get into them? But DiBiase Herc seems natural, given that neither of these matches really had much behind it.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that we, as we've mentioned, I understand that we saw DiBiase and Herc on the Saturday Night's Main Event, and it was a shitty, nefarious ending. But that doesn't mean you could do this again. Mm-hmm. Look, we've debuted the $1 million belt. I believe has made its debut, right? Yeah, it's made its debut. So why don't just have? I mean, here's a problem. If you didn't want Herc to win this feud, I wouldn't have put him in the match then.
Right.
Now, having said that, what I would have done is I would have had Herc. I would have held off on debuting the $1 Million Belt till after WrestleMania. Start the vignettes after this show. Have DiBiase lose this match to Herc, and then get so frustrated that he's getting screwed around. He's like, you know what? To hell with this place. I'm making a belt for myself. I don't need a crummy belt that Jack Tunney gives me. I could do my own or whatever. And then after WrestleMania, then you start the build with the $1 Million Belt. I think the timing. I think that's where our problem is here. Is that I think the timing was off on bringing in the $1 Million Belt as part of the gimmick. Because you can't really have Herc and DiBiase for the $1 Million Belt and then have Herc win it just as DiBiase gets it.
The belt wasn't on the line with him at Beefcake, so you could have him still follow the trajectory of introducing the belt. Herc, it's not even like they put him over strong with Haku. So is him losing to DiBiase here like that big of a deal? Instead, you get the shit finish with DiBiase. I know we're not talking about finishes, but anyway, it's not like he gets put over strong. So why not let Herc do the honors to DiBiase, lay down, finish that feud, even if it's cheap, and give DiBiase a win. To me, that just would have made a lot more sense. John, what do you think of the Beefcake DiBiase piece of this?
Yeah, I don't even recall if there was a big angle or they just threw them together. They just announced that Ted and Bruce were fighting. It was just I don't they didn't even play up a big angle. I preferred the model they used better for the WrestleMania 3 build-up, where all the feuds were ramped up and culminated at the WrestleMania. Here, a lot of the feuds got cut off before, either at the Rumble or now they're just slapping guys together. And also getting back to the Herc and the Haku, they should have at least had Haku's. They made a point to saying Haku's crown isn't up. There was really no stakes put there. So I prefer the WrestleMania 3 model where everything is ramped up. Here it's kind of like slapped together, and then they just have that face to face, which we'll talk about more. Which was like the first time a lot of these guys confronted each other. There's only really a few of the matches that we'll see that where there was some physicality, where there was a physical angle that led up to it.
I wanted to talk a little bit about the Beefcake angle of this too, because Brutus always works better when you believe there's a chance he's going to cut his opponent's hair.
Right.
I never believed for a second he was cutting DiBiase's hair, and he can't cut Virgil's hair because he doesn't have any. So I think they really put Beefcake in a bad spot, because I remember even as a 9-year-old thinking he's never cutting DiBiase's hair. It was garbage. Just like I didn't really think he was going to cut Honky Tonk Man's hair at WrestleMania 4, but I thought he might cut the Colonel's. So I think they even tied Brutus's hands together, because maybe I'm wrong, maybe you guys disagree, but I just remember never believing he was going to ever cut Ted DiBiase's hair.
Well, especially since DiBiase got a haircut before the show. If you're going to get a haircut anyway, because he kind of debuts as shorter hair here. If you're going to get a haircut anyway, why not let Beefcake do a little trimming on him and then get the haircut after? Did you, any of you pick up on that? This is kind of the debut of his shorter cropped haircut.
Yeah, from the mullet.
Yeah.
That he kind of was starting to get the longer in the back. Yeah, I thought they kind of handcuffed Beefcake. They got DiBiase in a no man's land too, with his new belt that he's not defending. And then, like John said, they're also not putting up the crown. So you got 2 props that you could use in stakes. You're not using either of those. Mm-hmm. And you basically got 4 guys kind of mismatched, and you could have solved it almost by making a switch. Maybe have Haku against Beefcake. I mean, it's a haphazard match either way, right?
So right, instead of having 2 of them.
Right, at least you got one feud kind of blown off. And, I mean, again, they also wasted 2 props that they could have used to bolster the drama a little bit by saying that they were up for grabs. I mean, we're not talking about finishes, but they did book it in a safe way that they could have put up the $1 million belt, and it wouldn't have mattered.
Scott, is there anyone else on the card besides Haku that you would pair Beefcake with?
Rude? If we wanted to change that match?
No, you can't. I mean, to me, there's like 3 or 4 matches on this card you cannot change, and that's one of them. I'm not touching Rude Warrior.
I mean, I wouldn't either. I'm not sure where else.
I mean, maybe it's just Haku's the answer.
Bad news?
Well,
how about Bravo to play
got
off
Bravo.
the long WrestleMania 3.
I got Bravo elsewhere. Sadly,
Okay.
I actually have a match planned for Dino Bravo. I think.
Right. Where would Beefcake?
Well, with my reshuffling, I have it as either Brown or Haku are like the two options. I mean, you could say like Mr. Perfect would have been cool, but you got to keep Perfect strong, and I don't think they're ready to job Beefcake yet.
I like making the switch. I like just making a simple switch.
Haku.
Put Haku in there and then put DiBiase up there. And then Haku is really believable for a potential haircut, whether you do it or not. And Heenan is always in play to take a bump or a little bit off the side. So I think right away that just interests me a little bit more because I think there might be some cutting and strutting. And that makes Beefcake more exciting, I think. I think it's kind of an easy switch. And they can keep it right at the top, too. Haku can come out with the big regal entrance and Beefcake can come dancing out after. I think, Beefcake was so over as a face. I think they slot in good as the opening match still, too. So I think you can just make an easy switch here and improve the card, right off the bat.
It's pretty interesting they had like Beefcake twisting in the win like this because they seemed like it was someone who's behind. Based on the main event, they're kind of pairing him as a Hogan ally. We saw that back in February, and it's interesting. I guess maybe they figured him and DiBiase as at least a marquee match, but finish is terrible. All right, let's turn to I want to kind of eliminate the low hanging fruit, like these matches that didn't mean much. So let's turn to Bravo Garvin. John, you mentioned some interesting build off air that you saw to this match in your prep. You want to talk about that?
Well, the face-to-face was quite a disaster. Neither of these two guys are the greatest on the promo, and it's been Garvin hyped up how Bravo's always Canadian and talking anti-USA. And where is Garvin from again? Refresh my memory. Isn't he
Michigan?
Canadian? Yeah, exactly. So that was a joke right there. And also they used in that face-to-face they both used the same horrible joke where. He's like, "Oh, Dino, you're so strong. You smell strong." Yeah, so stupid. And sadly, Bobby had used that one earlier. So, yeah, it was a disaster of a face-to-face. It's another thing where they just threw two guys together and say, just go at it and make up something.
It's amazing they had that level of match set that far out enough to hype it in a face-to-face, like in a big primetime setting. I mean, that was a good
because that was
6 or 7
February. That
weeks
was like
before.
a month and a half.
Yeah.
Yes, and it must have been even taped like before. So about 2 months prior, sure.
I watched the Go Home Superstars, and they actually spent probably 6 or 7 minutes on this match, which I was really surprised about. They had Bravo wrestle a jobber in a squash match, and he went over real strong. It's one of those squash matches where the jobber doesn't even raise a fist, just gets his ass kicked. And then they had one of those pop-up video boxes with Ronnie Garvin, cutting a promo on Bravo. And Vince and Jesse were going on and on about the weightlifting record, and they were putting Bravo over really strong. And I was surprised how much time they kind of committed to it and how strong they were putting Bravo over just with the weightlifting and Jesse going on and on. I mean, I think the match on Superstars is about as long as the match ends up being at Mania, but man, they really put him over and spent a lot more time than I would have thought on the last Superstars was dedicated to this match.
So I think, Scott, we hinted at this a bit on our last episode where I'm going with this. I don't care about all this build. To me, it's still a pretty meaningless match. I take Bravo out, and I'm combining matches now because I want to save a little bit of time on this card, a little bit of bloat that we have going on. I am putting Bravo with the Rougeaus against Jim Duggan and the Bushwhackers. We saw that at MSG. We've seen Duggan and Bravo have been feuding for a while with no real blow-off in place. The Rougeaus have a thing going with the Bushwhackers. They've been paired with Bravo before. We saw it at the Rumble where they teamed up. They've kind of been a de facto faction with Jimmy Hart. Eventually with Jimmy Hart. Of course, Frenchie Martin's still in the mix. Duggan really does nothing. His match of Bad News Brown's a waste. Another match that has no build, so we can kind of wrap that into this discussion here. What do you guys think of that, Scott? What do you think of switching to a 6-man? You cut down a match, you combine a couple, and then you shift some other stuff around.
I agree 100% for a couple of reasons. Number one, again, for time purposes, because although this show doesn't seem as bad as WrestleMania 4. It has still got a lot of fluff. And number 2, we watched these two in a 6-man at the Garden, and they work really well together.
Yep.
Bravo and Duggan do not work well together alone at all. But stick them in a match where you've got, Butch, Luke, and Jacques and Ramon kind of carrying some of the in-ring weight. And you got yourself, and, the other two were, Bravo with his terrible selling and bumping around and falling around, not like selling anything because he sucks at it. And then you got yourself a pretty entertaining match. And you're probably, let's look at it. If you put the two, not we're doing results, this is just time purposes. Mm-hmm. The tag is 9-10, and Bravo Frenchie is 306, or Bravo Garvin is 306. And then you've got Duggan, and that's 349. So those three matches combined come out to about, 16 minutes.
Yeah, and you're going to cut that down to 2 matches.
Yeah, you can cut that down to 2 matches, and that you can make the 6-man 10. And
then this way, you obviously they want to give Bravo a win. He goes over Garvin. So whatever. Luke loses, it's not going to hurt the Bushwhackers at all. And you give the Rougeaus a win. John, what do you think of switching to the 6-man in that one?
Yeah, I had a similar solution too. Stick him on the end of stick Bravo on the end of Rhythm and Blues, and Garvin with the Heart Foundation.
Oh, you could do that too. All right, so hang on. I'm trying to keep track of our new card, and we can debate these things as we go. So you're saying Garvin and the Hearts versus our Rhythm and Blues and Bravo.
Yeah.
All right, Steve, break our ties here.
I probably want to go with the original idea just because I actually kind of like that Hearts versus Valentine and Honky Tonk match more than some. What I'm wondering, though, is then do we shift Bad News and Garvin together for sort of another stiff match? Are we chucking those guys out? What are we doing now with Bad News and Garvin?
So I had 2 options. One was Beefcake versus Bad News, which kind of feels like more like an upper card match, and then Haku Garvin as well as an option. Or you could just do Garvin, Bad News. You let Bad News go over Garvin. Or I'm going to throw a wild card into the mix. Based off of what we saw at MSG, and I know this feels a little dirty and not clean to break this match up, do we take Blazer out of his match at Perfect and do the Garvin Perfect match from MSG? A little less time, but Perfect still goes over clean. You give Garvin a profile match. Blazer shifts around. So there's some moving pieces with those parts. So I'm going to pause there. Anyone have any takes on how you shuffle that around?
The only thing I don't like about Bad News versus Beefcake is Bad News doesn't have hair. I know I've said this a couple times, and it might be silly,
shave his beard.
But I just think that Beefcake is just so much better when there's a chance he can cut someone's hair. So that would be my only negative against that. I think it's kind of smooth, again, kind of keeping it clean. Just slide Garvin down to Bad News. They're only getting 3 minutes anyway. They can stiff each other around for a couple minutes, and then Bad News hits the Ghetto Blaster and walks off into the sunset, and we took care of those 2 guys. And we got a really fun 6-man tag, which I'm fine with as long as the Rougeaus are still taking the dick bump. That's the only thing I have to have. As long as we still have
the dick bump is here forever.
Yeah, as long as the Bushwhackers are still... And also humiliating Sean Mooney after the match needs to stay as well.
I'd say you could...
As long as we have those 2 things.
I'd say you could just dump Bravo and Bad News and Garvin, but I think in the spirit of what we're trying to do, we're going to keep everyone... we'll try and keep everyone on the card that was originally on. So we'll play that game. I do think those 2 guys are probably expendable in this situation, and just save yourself 3 minutes.
I'm sure that they have to... I'm sure having Blazer on was a handshake agreement between Vince and... I doubt Brett, because Brett didn't have that clock yet. Maybe Vince and Stu or whatever.
I think that we're trying to get everyone. There was a name on the card, and I think
I'm not going to be the one to. I'm sorry, John. I'm not going to be the one to tell Bad News he ain't at Mania. We might have had a Nails situation before Nails with that, because that dude's a snap case. So I wouldn't be the one telling him. So I think we got to keep him around. Let him and Garvin stiff each other for a few minutes in the corner, and then, like I said, I think it's just kind of clean and easy, and only 3 minutes anyway.
If you do switch it too, you could go Blazer Bad News in a little Stampede match. Like, I bet they probably could have had something decent if you do put Garvin.
That could be fun. Yeah, that could be fun.
What do you think, John?
I would do that. I like that idea.
But no, as far as leading people off, you definitely got to get everybody on the card. This at this time, that buy rate was like Christmas for these guys, and everybody had to get a little piece of their little Christmas bonus. So
yeah, and they did huge business with this one too.
Yeah, that's why the card is so bloated.
So what do you think?
I don't mind keeping
those switches, John.
Oh yeah, with the Garvin and Bad News, sure. For Garvin, that's a good boost for Bad News.
Well, what if we do? So, what would you think of Garvin Perfect, Blazer Bad News, and a Stampede kind of tribute feud? Then the sixth man with Duggan and the Bushwhackers, Rougeau's Bravo, and then
I like that actually. I would do that.
You like that?
Let's try that.
All right, so Garvin.
Bad News and Perfect, upcoming heels, they come out strong. They get big wins and they come out strong. Sure.
Yep.
Yeah, I like that.
You're right, because Bad News gets a win instead of the fuck finish, and Blazer, Blazer, I think he puts on a good match either way. So I mean, him and Bad News obviously have the cred going back to Stampede, and then even now, if you're saying, well, too many heels are winning, with DiBiase, Perfect, Bad News, you could flop that 6-man and have Ray take the pin if you want to keep Bravo a little bit strong and even have them lose. You kind of rebuild the MSG match. So. All right, Hearts, Rhythm, and Blues. We want to leave that as is. I don't see another real good place for the Hearts. They kind of feel a little bit squeezed in. I was originally thinking maybe you'd do Beefcake and Valentine since we never quite blew that off on a big show, but then I don't know where that leaves Honky. And now you're looking for another tag team. So this one, I think we're probably a little bit penciled in with having to keep.
I thought it was a good match too, honestly.
Yeah.
I thought they all worked well, and I thought it was a pretty solid. I always kind of think of this Mania when I think back to the first 5 or 6. I kind of always think of it as like Tag Team Mania. So there are so many tag team matches on it, and I really like this one. It's probably my favorite or second favorite tag team match on the card. So I would probably leave this one. I kind of like it.
Scott,
yeah, me too. I like. It was like a forgotten angle with they used to set up where Honky clocked Brett with the guitar and then Anvil. Anvil was fighting him off with the megaphone. It was a good angle they used to set it up. I would definitely keep this.
And it gives the Hearts a quality win too, on which they needed. So yeah, I don't have too much complaint here. Scott, anything?
No, not at all. I do like the I bet you somewhere, and we'll probably have to look at it one day on Graham's site, or maybe we get it at the Garden and not realize it. But now I'm kind of hoping that there's a Bad News Blazer match somewhere down the line, because I think that'd be a lot of fun. Because obviously Bad News, was a better worker earlier in the decade when he was a little younger, and in Stampede. So, and of course he transitioned it when he went down to Florida. So now I'm kind of hoping that match sneaks up on us somewhere down the line, because that would actually be pretty good. I think we found a gem there that may have never happened. The match that should have happened and never did. But I'm sure it happened.
And plus, they got a cool homage shirt out of it that Mr. Zero will be wearing next week.
That is right, yes.
With his pocket. The Rhythm and Blues Heart Foundation. Yeah.
That's very true. I would not have that gem without it. The Hearts in general, let's pause for a sec because we got some time. Let's start with the Heart Foundation and kind of where they've stood within the tag division, because they definitely do feel lost. Like, they had the face turn in the summer of '88, the stuff with the Rougeaus that kind of just petered out. Do you feel like they're in no man's land? I know we're about to embark on perhaps a little singles test the water. Steve, what's your feeling like where the Hearts are at this point in time in early '89? Are they kind of being squeezed out of the division in a way?
A little bit. I think the division has shifted to being Demolition's division for sure right now, and they're not part of, they haven't reached that time period yet. What I do love is when they get to summer and they have the match against the Brainbusters, right? It's SummerSlam '89, them and the Brainbusters.
Yep.
They have a fantastic match, and Jesse kind of as a throwaway line says if they don't win tonight, they might not get another chance at the tag team titles for a year. And sure enough, it's not till SummerSlam '90 then, when they have that awesome match in the Spectrum against Demolition and win the titles. But that's still a way off, and I think you're right. Right here, they're a little squeezed out of where they're used to being in the division as one of the focal points. They're not, but the thing about them is they're still putting on good matches, and I bet as you guys go through the house shows at '89, And as they build towards that big match in 90, I bet we're still going to have 2 or 3, 3 to 4 star kind of, we didn't even think or know about this match type thing. So I think they're still a valuable part of the roster. They're still probably balling out on the road. They're just not the focus that we're used to them being, say, from, 87 until about now.
Yeah, that demolition face term was really placed them as the square number 1 babyface tag team at this time, and everybody else was just fighting for number 2.
All right. I wanted to now talk about Red Rooster and Bobby Heenan. Do we feel like that is a match? We've talked a lot about this feud and where it stood and the build. And, we've seen Rooster and Brawler go at it. Do you keep Rooster Bobby with the quick hit? Would you have just done Rooster Brawler and Rooster maybe gets a minute with Bobby if he went? Or do you think this kind of the way they did it was perfect and leave it alone?
No, they had to do it this way. We've already watched 2 Brawler Rooster matches, and they were fucking horrendous. I don't think on a natural stage they wanted to do that. Brewster needed to get his hands on Bobby, and that hadn't happened yet on TV, locally. So I would have had no problem with this. It was only, a few minutes. I was perfectly fine with it. Yeah, 30 seconds.
It was perfect. Bobby already had gotten his ass beat. He comes out looking like so disheveled. I think it's kind of perfect. The perfect kind of quick speed squash right before the main event. Totally harmless. Probably no need to mess with it.
Yeah, no, again, JR, we've watched 2 Rooster. I mean, you could have made him shorter, but that still would have been shorter shit. I don't think it would have gotten any better than the crap we watched at the Garden. So back-to-back months. So I think this is fine. Remember, it's Bobby, and people love to see Bobby look like a jackass. And on the biggest stage of the year, you do that. So I think it's fine.
Yeah, I like how they set up for both him and Fuji just to have their matches at Mania. Like, it's a special thing. Like, that's the one time of the year, like you said, Scott. That's a good point. To make a special rate at Mania where they're going to get their comeuppance at Mania.
Yep. Is there any saving Rooster, or is he?
No,
because he's just not. Like I think Pritchard has said this quite a bit. He just didn't. He didn't want it to work. He didn't put his heart into it, and you could just tell he was uncomfortable. I think I heard he was the only one who declined to be in the gimmick battle royal at WrestleMania 17. He hated this gimmick so bad he didn't even want to take a payday in the 2000s. So it was doomed just as much because it was stupid, but also because he didn't want to make it work. I mean, you could argue it's just as silly as the polka dots, but Dusty came in and busted his ass and got that over. So I think it's just as much on him as it is the gimmick itself, and it was never going to work without him putting his heart in it.
Well, at least he puts enough into it to bob his head and cluck excitedly.
Yes,
excitedly. It's a shame that they don't.
Gotcha.
It's a shame it didn't work out though, because as much as we crap on it though, that angle was tremendous. I think that was like the first time they did an angle on primetime, and that came out of nowhere.
Yep.
Even though it was shit Rooster, but that was just such a tremendous angle. But they never followed up like with Gorilla, because Brawler really hits Gorilla in the back and lays Gorilla out, and Gorilla, like in the weeks after, he never really said he was pissed off or even at Bobby. They just kind of went to business as usual. So
it might have been fun up with that. It might have been fun if they Gorilla out here in Rooster's corner.
Yes, that
might have actually helped him. Yeah. That's actually a pretty good idea, JR. I think that might have helped Rooster. If Gorilla actually got involved, and then you have like Tony do the match with Jesse, at least just this match,
I was surprised I was surprised they never followed up on it. Like in the weeks after on primetime, Gorilla, he just made a couple comments like, you'll get yours, but he never really acted like that mad. But that angle is tremendous. If anybody hasn't seen it, that primetime, it's ridiculous when with Brawler coming out, and then Bobby's like, "Here's your hat. Don't forget your hat." And Brawler's just paintbrushing Taylor on that stupid locker. And but even in the face to face, you can see like Bobby, didn't have his heart into it. He's like, your name isn't even Rooster, it's Allen. I mean, Taylor. I don't even know what I'm saying. And but Bobby was just trying to salvage it.
Well, it's too bad that they went the direction they did, because it was kind of a golden opportunity to get him out of the gimmick, right? By having him, I'm not a Rooster, I'm Terry Taylor. You know what I mean? Like it was an easy path to say, he gave me this gimmick to humiliate me. you kept me down, but I'm a real man. I'm not a fucking rooster. You know what I mean? Like isn't it like a golden opportunity to do the I'm a real man, not a shark? You know, whatever, like that kind of thing.
You made a great point on one of the house shows as far as Taylor, like how people say that he didn't have his heart into it, but you made a great point saying he overdid it, and he made him, you know, and he made him look stupid with all the clucking and all that. He took it too hard, you know.
Right, exactly. You know, it's like too much, and like for him to when he actually transitioned to like being a rooster versus just kind of being like a silly gimmick that they're trying to prove that Bobby can anyone over. That's when it just went overboard. He's got the music and he's got the hair and he's clucking around, thinking he's talking about living in the hen house. like this is all this shit is just ridiculous. You know, like to me that was when it just got way out of control.
Maybe they thought kids, you know, they were going to appeal to kids, and kids are going to have their little bite of little rooster mohawks, and
he still sucks. All right. So in my mind, there's two more matches to talk about in a reshuffle because I believe the top 1, 2, 3, 4 matches are kind of ones you don't touch, and we'll get to those. We'll talk about the build to them. I don't think there's a reshuffle needed for those, but there's two more switches I'd make here, and we're going to talk about a couple tag matches. So we have Strikeforce taking on the Brainbusters and the Twin Towers taking on the Rockers. I'm loath in a way to change either of these matches, and part of me wants to say they're both perfect in their own way. The Rockers bumping for the Twin Towers is so much fun, and the Towers are squashing them in the end. And then Strikeforce with Tito putting on a clinic against the Busters is a ton of fun as well. But for the good of the card and based on the build, I really think they should have blown off Rockers Brainbusters here because we've seen so much of that feud stemming from the Rumble on, and even actually starting a Survivor Series that gets no end. Right. Have them finally go clean here and have the Busters go over to set them up for the summer, and have Strikeforce blow up against the Twin Towers. You can still do the same exact thing. Martel gets hit. The Towers beat the shit out of Santana. Still would have been fun. Would have made sense. But you at least get that Rockers Brainbusters blow off. As is, you get these two tag matches that didn't seem to have a lot of build. I mean, Strikeforce obviously had no build because Martel is making his return here, and they had nothing going on before this. So you could have easily slotted them in with the Towers and then just the Rockers Brainbusters to blow things up. And maybe we don't even open with the match you talked about, Steve, Beefcake Haku. Maybe we open with Rockers Brainbusters to kick the show off with a real hot note. Something they would do on the next pay-per-view with the Busters. Steve, talk to me about that switch and what you think there.
I'm thinking because I love that Rockers Twin Towers match. So I'm thinking, do I want to sacrifice that? But you made some good points. I will say I watched that last Superstars, and Martel has a match, and Tito's in his corner. They both come down on their Strikeforce gear. Martel does a quick single squash, and they kind of jump around awkwardly, and Jesse speculates the whole time on whether or not they're really a team. So that's basically the build, and that match is kind of about them, and it all kind of sets up for Martel to call Tito a loser. But I guess you can call him a loser. It doesn't really matter who they wrestle. So you kind of got me. Pass it off to John. Let me think about this a little bit more, because I got to decide if I want to sacrifice one of my favorite Mania tag matches with the Twin Towers.
Because don't forget, Rockers Busters
and that
could
clothesline.
Right, but Rockers Busters could be just as good. So,
I mean, when I was on 513, they wrestled at MSG, and Scott and I, and even you, I mean, we gushed about it. We love that match. So, I have no doubt that they can put on. I'm thinking in my head, like, am I splitting up a 3-star and a 2-star to get a 4-star and a 2-star? Am I going to get a little bit of a better? Am I going to get a 4-star match if I switch the Busters and Rockers together?
Right. The potential's there for sure.
Right. Because, I mean, do I really need the Twin Towers to have I don't need them that much. Like, they can clothesline the shit out of Tito, right? You can still run that spot with Tito, and Tito can bump around, and you can almost do the same thing with the Twin Tower. Let's do it. I'm for it. I'll do it. I like it.
Talked himself right into it, John. What do you think?
Yeah, talking myself. You guys thought about that? Match. It was so good.
It's hard to say no to another Rockers Busters. I like the idea too, but also I don't want to put down how strong the Towers came out looking and only the Rockers could have bumped for them and made them look so dominant. The Rockers gave the best shot, as we'll see, and the Towers came off as real monsters there. So,
but they still can destroying Tito.
I'll stick with it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you don't think Tito can do it? I know he's a loser.
But it would have been a little shaded if they ran the same thing with Martel bailing out and turning.
So my counter to that, John, will be that the Towers don't really do much from here. Like, they're kind of on their last legs as far as they last through the summer, but they're not really being positioned as like a top team throughout the summer, and we've pretty much seen their peak. So I know they look strong and look great, but is it even necessary? The Busters, to me, may need that win more, given what's coming for them in the summer.
Yeah, sure. If you put them over,
you have to put them over the Rockers.
Sure,
you have to.
I see a point. Yeah.
I think the visual. I guess it depends on. I think it depends on what kind of beatdown you want. Like, I love watching. I've always loved Arn and Tully turning on the Horseman charm and just systematically dissecting. But come on, JR, you would love the visual of Tito, of Akeem and Bossman, just one fucking power move after another, side suplexes and squashes. And I mean, they could absolutely obliterate Tito. And Tito would have to sell for anything because it would be pretty legit.
Right.
You know what I mean? So if you're looking at it from the visual of how you want the beatdown to look, you can have what we got, which was the systematic Horseman beatdown, which always makes me smile. Or you'd have your boys just literally just destroy him like hamburger meat. You know what I mean? So visually, either way, it looks great.
And I'm also trying to go off of I'm also trying to go off the build too. You know what I mean? The lead, what led up to this show, Rockers Busters, was a feud that's really been going on since like November. Why not? And John, to your point earlier, how many things died off in the lead up to this show that we didn't get to see, and that's one of them to me. So even if if you're going,
they went away from the WrestleMania 3 model there, and they ended the feuds early, and instead of continuing and just blowing it off at the Mania, sure.
And it like going in and say blinders, like we don't know how the quality of the match is going to end up. We don't know what Rockers like just booking the show ahead of time. Rockers Busters makes so much more sense to me, based on what they had going on. So. All right, so I think we've put together a pretty fun undercard so far. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we are going to break down the top 5 matches, or 4. What are we going to 4? The big matches. I don't think we'll be touching from a rebook point of view, but we'll kind of get into the build and hype. I want to talk about the venue, and then I want to talk about the match structure of the card, and then we'll wrap things up. So we'll take a break. When we get back, we will get to the rest of this book in action.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Place to Be Nations, JT Rosero and Chad Campbell here. We want to let you know that we have over 24 podcasts available on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and PlaceToBeNation.com. We now offer them to you on 2 great feeds. On the Place to Be Nation Wrestling feed, we dive into topics running the gamut from today's WWE to the glory days of yesteryear and the ins and outs of the territory days. In addition to our full-length shows, we also deliver to you special pod blasts on topics old and new.
The Place to Be Nation Pop feed is a veritable treasure trove of great content, offering tremendous shows covering the land of movies, television, life, comics, and sports, brought to you by the most knowledgeable and insightful folks in the podcast world.
You can find all of these current shows, plus archives of our previous podcasts over the past 8 years as well, by subscribing to our feeds on iTunes. And while there, be sure to rate and leave feedback as well. All of these shows, plus others available at PlaceToBeNation.com, where we cover pro wrestling, sports, movies, comics, plus in-depth stretch projects and more. Be sure to support our site by using www.PlaceToBeNation.com/Amazon while doing your online shopping. And be sure to join us at our forum at Bigelow34.proboards.com for all sorts of wrestling, sports, and pop culture discussion each and every day, where you can make your voice heard. We also want to thank our friends at Bonehead's Wing Bar, ProWrestlingOnly.com, and TheHistoryOfWrestling.com. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Tumblr as well. PlaceToBeNation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
This is J.J. Dillon, the leader of the Four Horsemen, and you're listening to Place to Be Podcast.
Our nation, we're back here at episode 518 of the Place to Be Podcast. Myself, Scott Criscolo, John D'Amato, and Steve Bennett. We are kind of giving our road to WrestleMania 5 preview here. Next week, we'll be breaking down WrestleMania 5 in full. Myself, Scott, and John will be here for that. And before we get to that, though, I wanted to talk a little bit about what's going on in the world of Place to Be Nation over on the PTB Pop feed. Had a busy week, as always. The Marvel Age back to wrap up the year that was 1970. The Sarcastic Four will take you through that. Jenny Miranda returned with a brand new Geek and Sassy, talking Doom Patrol Volume 1. And on this installment of Sunday Groove that dropped, David, joined by Greg Phillips, discussing some hidden gems. Our boy Andy Atherton bringing in a host of luminaries for the newest Great Debate, looking at sports and pop culture as always. Kelly and Steve returned with the new Songs with Friends, talking Lil Wayne and Deanna Carter, if you want to mix things up. Todd Weber bringing a new Pod Blast, looking at the premiere and second episodes of Season 8 of Game of Thrones. Steve, you can save your takes for elsewhere. On the Hard Traveling Fanboys, Greg and Nick looking at the power of Shazam and this month's Long Book Hunters. They are, of course, doing Shazam Month in honor of that movie dropping. And finally, Andy, joined by Tim Capel, to talk Ghostbusters in the 4th episode of Laugh-In Theater. Of course, much more dropping each and every day on that feed. We also have a little project going on coming up at the end of May. The Hard Traveling Fanboys will be wrapping up their Hard Travelers for Hire series with a special giant-sized edition of their podcast. Greg and Nick, joined by past guests, for a retrospective look back at the highs and lows of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and they want your opinions. After you've seen Endgame, send in your full ranking of the MCU movies, 1 to 22, to Nick D at PlayStation.com. Ballots are due May 16th. The full composite rankings for PlayStation Nation will be revealed on that show. Get your ballots in and your voice heard. So, Scott, I'm sure you'll be participating in that.
I shall be seeing Endgame tomorrow night, so I will have.
Wow, you haven't seen it yet? That's late for you. I feel like you're usually there before it even opens.
I know. Well, the weekend, all that stuff going on and everything, so it was tough. But I'm going to see it with the silverback there, Mr. Rotellis, tomorrow night. So,
okay.
So
He
yes,
had a hot date on the night it opened. He had a hot date.
He did, yeah.
With yours
That's
truly.
right. That's right. I did.
Wow. Tomatoes, you're the only one thing you can keep him from these movies, buddy. So.
Yeah, that's right.
You
didn't wear those shoes for me, though. You wore them for everybody else. You whore.
All right, over on the PlayStation Nation Wrestling feed, I was back with Jeff Machado in the classroom for the 17th episode of Jeff Learns Wrestling. Believe it or not, we've done 17 of these things. Not only did we look at the build to WrestleMania 6, we also spent about half the show talking about my foibles from my grandmother's funeral last week. So check that out, because it's a very interesting episode when Jeff and I really broke that down. And Steve and John, I know you both have listened. It's quite the tale, right? Worth the listen?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Epic, yes.
I have offered to buy sandwiches for episode 18, though. I will Venmo you guys some cash for sandwiches. We need sandwiches.
We do need the sandwiches. It's funny, because we always do eat, and then we got together a little bit later, and he's like, I got leftovers, I'll just eat before I come. And I ended up just taking the kids to dinner because my wife was out. So there we go. But next episode, we'll get the sandwiches back. But I did have, it's funny because normally, like, these stories and events that happen to me, I just kind of remember them. But so much stuff was happening that in the car, from going from the funeral to the cemetery, I was like writing notes on my phone feverishly so I wouldn't forget anything to cover off on the show. So I recommend it. I think it's one of our better episodes from a non-wrestling point of view. If you like me and Jeff just riffing on random stuff, it's worth a listen. So peep that. I was busy last week. I also talked to Chad on Wrestling Warzone. We entered 1996, looked at the Raw and Nitro from January 1st. Of course, the Raw Bowl on full display, and we are excited to get into a new year. So as we start to work our way toward the Royal Rumble and to the January Clash. So opening things there in 1996. Premiere episode of Row 1, Seat 1, Ben Zanny welcomed the one and only Papa Mike Hale. They talked about a lifetime experience of Papa attending live wrestling shows, and look for more from Ben in the coming weeks. Happy to have him on the feed in that show. Greg Dina, Robert Silva returned with a special episode looking at some choices from the GWD Tag Team Project. They wanted to share some views on the teams that they voted for. And finally, in episode 5 of You Don't Know Billy Jack, Drew and Jordan talk the legendary Steamboat Savage WrestleMania Clash. Jordan got introduced to that piece of business, which I know the three gentlemen I'm talking to here tonight hold that in very high regard. So,
best match ever.
Check that out. Over at PlayStation.com, 8 members of the staff took part in the all-time pay-per-view draft. Posted piece that we put up includes full draft results, rosters, and defenses of strategy from all the drafters. So check that out, and you can vote for who had the best draft. Please don't let Neil Trauma win. That's my only ask of you all.
I think I voted for Neil.
Come on.
I liked his. He has WrestleMania 3, first of all. And second of all, I liked that. I liked that article, by the way. That was cool. That was a really good idea. Really well executed. I had a lot of fun reading that.
Thank you.
I did vote for Neil. I'm sorry.
It was fun to do, and we're going to be doing more of those, so we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, it was really cool.
John, please restore my faith. You didn't vote for Neil?
I haven't voted yet.
I'm
still contemplating, but unfortunately, just like Steve said, WrestleMania 3 is always close to my heart. So.
And doesn't he have SummerSlam 91 too? I don't know. I just really remember liking some of the shows on his.
Well, he's still winning as of now, so I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, but whatever.
I don't know who he is. I've never heard of him till then, but
you're better off that way. And then that's it. So check our social media and message board, bigelow34.pourbroads.com. You can get in on the GW pay-per-view and TV best match ever project as well. Get in the conversation, start researching your list. We'll have more to come in that in the following weeks as well. So that should be a lot of fun doing that list like we've done the last couple of years. So PlayStation.com, the only place to be in our pop culture world.
Real quick before we move on, I know we're not doing a pop culture corner today, but I'm on the line with John, and I have to ask you real quickly about your event schedule, because no one I've ever met or kind of met gets some more sweet events. Like in the last 2 months, you've been to John Way, you've been to Florentine. I mean, you work out Long Island like no one I've known before for these events. How many sets of tickets are you sitting on right now? Like what? Tell me about your events. Tell me what goes into planning them. I mean, is there like a Saturday night where you're like, man, Queen's at the Garden, Florentine's at, on Long, like you just got to decide where to go. Like, I am interested in your events. Can we, JT, is it all right if we take 2 minutes on that?
I will never turn down an opportunity to let John talk about his personal life.
Let's hear about John's events. Go ahead, John. Tell me.
All I can tell you is it's New York. New York is not limited to Friday and Saturday. It's not limited to the weekends. There's stuff every night. So that's a big bonus. And plus, I'm kind of, I'm Long Island. I'm only an hour from the city, and a half hour away to a lot of venues on Long Island. So, and plus my work life is done. I have an entertainment budget. That's just about it. Anything that pops up on the on the Facebook, I have all the alerts. So as soon as tickets pop up, I just grab one and go. And also a secret. I grab 3 and I sell 2, and with the profits on StubHub, it usually turns into a free concert a lot of times. So,
that's amazing.
For budgetary concerns, but yeah, it's just New York, especially in the summer. Jones Beach. There's a lot of good stuff, so, and I'm not too picky about entertainment, so it's all good.
Give me your top 3 in the last year or so. What was really good?
The Bruce the River tour. I saw 4 shows on the River tour, which and the River's
awesome.
One of the top albums of all time.
I went to the Buffalo show.
Yeah, he performs the River. Yeah. He performs the River the first half, and the second half he does the greatest hits, like 3 hours nonstop, no BS. It's just And one of Tom Petty's last shows before he left us, unfortunately, which was outdoors at Forest Hills. That was great. So,
and WrestleMania.
Oh, come on, man! That WrestleMania. That
number 3 live was Mark Claire and I.
That goes without saying. Yeah.
Look, John was there in secret.
Number 3 was Scenes from Italian Restaurant.
Damn right.
Florentine, who you had on your podcast, that was about the 10th time I see him, and he was very gracious.
Yeah, he's the man.
He signed my book. He was very nice. Yeah, he gave me a copy of his free CD on the house, which is nice.
I got the house
because I bought his house. Yeah, because I bought his book. So he said, I went to give him the money. He's like, no, take it. It's on me. So he's one of the best comedians. Sure.
Awesome. Okay, I didn't mean to hijack. I just had it. I was on with him. I had to ask because I literally follow his Facebook just to be in envy of his events. schedule.
Well, that's how I know when I can. That's how I know when I can book him for basketball too. I'm like, no, he's out this week because I see the Wednesday, the Tuesday. I did recommend you, John, to Ben Zanny, so I think you're on the row 1, seat 1 guest list coming up for live attendance.
Perfect guest. So. Yeah, perfect guest.
He's excited to have you on for all the stuff you attend. He already had you targeted anyway, so I'm not going to take the credit for it. But
I look forward to it. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Steve. So, I'm a little awkward, talking about myself and stuff, but it's all good. Thank you.
All right, we got 4 matches remaining on WrestleMania 5's card. I think we all agree that these are 4 we're not going to touch from a booking standpoint. But let's talk about the build and if the build really kind of warranted where they ended up. So let's start with the tag team titles. Demolition defending as the Powers of Pain and Mr. Fuji. Do you guys feel that the Powers of Pain still had gas in the tank as challengers? So I say that because we sat here and talked about all these other feuds that should have continued and didn't. Did this one still have the legs? Did it warrant continuing from Survivor Series to Mania? And Steve, what do you think of Mr. Fuji being added into the ring in the mix here?
All right, so this is something we talked a lot about on the Adams Division podcast when we were ranking the Survivor Series. And I know a lot of people think that it was a little convoluted, the double turn, and it was. I don't deny that, but sometimes people are like, it doesn't make any sense. Why would Fuji ever ditch the champions? But I do get it, because for Fuji, it's not about the belt, it's about the power. And he felt like he was losing the power to Demolition, that they were getting too big for their britches. And that's why that was, I think, the reason for the turn. And I think that if they didn't have this match, we'd be sitting here saying, why didn't they pay that off, right? Kind of. So I think they had to pay it off. And I think that it was a cool piece of psychology to include Fuji, because I think either Gorilla or Jesse says it in the commentary that they made the decision that Fuji was less dangerous in the ring than outside of the ring. And I think that was a genius move by Demolition, which we're not talking about results, but they pay that off as well. So I think this was really well done. It was a little convoluted in the beginning, but if you kind of follow it through that and you kind of accept it for what it is, I think they did a really good job paying it off. So I'll defend this one. I like this one.
What do you think, John?
Also, on that face-to-face, it shows why they did the turn, because Axe and Smash can really spit. They deliver a hell of a promo, and the Power is not so much they needed the mouthpiece. So that's why they did the turn. And also, like Steve said, you hit it right on the head that Gorilla and Bobby would go at it, and Gorilla kind of foreshadowed the ending. He's like, Fuji hasn't been in the ring in a year, so he's a major weakness inside the ring. And then, but Bobby would counter saying, hey, Fuji's got all the tricks in him. Plus, he's a 3-time tag champ or whatever the number is. And Bobby brought that up. So there was definitely a good move there, and they added intrigue. And like Scott had said before, it's good at WrestleMania where you put the managers in the ring. It's a special to get that comeuppance, once a year.
What do you think, Scott?
Yeah, I mean, I know it seems stupid. Like, why are you leaving? I mean, there are some plot holes or logic. I shouldn't say plot, logic holes in a couple of these feuds, and obviously the main event is probably one of the biggest ones, and we'll get to that in a minute. But obviously, on paper, or at face value, you're like, why the hell would Fuji leave the tag team champions to go to somebody else just because they don't need him anymore? That's pretty stupid. He's making a ton of money off him. So I understand them trying to transition from a talent perspective. Yeah, love the Warlord, love the Barbarian, but they can't. They're not stick guys at all. Whereas clearly Axe and Smash know how to deliver. So it had to happen. And at least with Bobby's next wrestler, not at the level of Fuji probably, but at least Fuji can get some action in, and Gorilla can mention that he's a former tag team champion and that kind of thing. So there was some good logic involved in that. And Demolition, it's been an entire year that they've been tag team champions, and they're facing a team that's legitimately the same size as them. So and we really haven't seen that much on a national stage. Yes, we saw a couple of tags in late '88, I think November, December, I think, at MSG. But really, JR, on camera, we really haven't seen much interaction between the Powers of Pain and Demolition. So in that instance, yeah, it's a big deal. It's a big deal to have a match like this with two big power teams, and I don't think it's gotten stale at all. I know it's been 6 months, but there hasn't been a ton of interaction, so maybe that works to their advantage. So.
Right.
And also it brings sorry Justin, it brings intrigue to the finish, because like we saw last year with 4, how you thought that Bobby and that 6-man would take the fall, but he wound up getting the pin, so it adds intrigue that maybe they could do it again where they're going to screw in and Fuji might even wind up getting the pin.
And Danny Davis at 3 as well. Same thing.
There you go, Steve, my man. Perfect.
3 you got Danny Davis, 4 you got Heenan. Will Fuji make it a hat trick?
Excellent. Yeah, good point.
All right, so I think we're all in agreement there. I think the only other team you could maybe have put in, if they did decree that the Powers had run its course, is I guess the Twin Towers coming off the Mega Power stuff. I don't think any other team was really. I don't think the Busters were quite ready yet to be in that spot, and the Rougeaus wouldn't have felt like a threat at all. So I think the Twin Towers maybe could have been the only other team you shoehorn in. But as is, we're good. I wouldn't advocate for that. I'm just saying if they had declared the Powers like kind of done as a threat, I think the Towers coming off the main event could have been a choice.
Yeah, I just think they told the right story here. And I think if they would have done something like Towers, we'd be sitting here saying, why didn't they pay that other feud off? So I think they made the right call here.
All right, let's move on to Jake the Snake Roberts versus Andre the Giant, another feud that's really been going on for a while since the fall. We have Big John Studd inserted in as a special guest referee. Again, we're all in agreement that this should not change. But, John, what did you think of the build to this one, and what do you think of Studd being in the mix as the special ref?
Yeah, I think it detracted a little. I didn't like the addition of Studd. And also, it kind of continues to build, like from the beginning with the angle. Kind of Jake is the one that looks like the heel. That he's got he needs the Snake because he really can't beat the Giant one-on-one, and that's kind of like that's kind of like a heelish, playing like pussy tactics with the Snake, and also they're setting up that Studd has this grudge against Andre too, so they're really kind of stacking the deck against Andre, and Andre is the one that's the heel, the deck should be stacked like against the face to make the face the underdog. So I didn't like how they did that, and yeah, Studd. I guess they didn't want to put him in the ring, so that was their way to do it. But I'm not big on guest referees, especially as a face. And
what do you think of this one, Steve? And well, I guess the other question too is, would you have had Studd at all in the match, and you had Jake elsewhere? Would you have just done Studd Andre here to get it over with? Because, or if you knowing by now that Studd is. Probably DOA. I don't know if they already knew this. I know they were aiming for that feud to happen after. Is there any way you're changing this match, Steve, to Studd Andre instead, or are you leaving as is? And what do you think of how went as is?
I think Studd really screwed them here. I think that Studd sold Vince on 1985 Studd coming back in 1989, and he wasn't that guy. And I think that they overbooked themselves by having Studd win the Rumble, then found out he can't work, and then they're like, oh shit, what are we going to do? So we just had this guy win the main event of the last pay-per-view. We got to do something with him, and I think he wasn't the guy they thought they were. He really screwed them, so kind of to salvage it, they said, well, let's put him in with Andre because he has this history here with Andre, and we can put him into this feud, and it salvages it in some. And I thought it was a mess. I didn't like Studd's involvement. I think probably the better just cut bait with Studd. Mm-hmm. Take it as a loss. He screwed you. He sold you on something that didn't exist. Oh, well, move on. Don't, all he did, you throw him in, and he just makes this match worse. So he ruins two things or whatever by keeping him around. So I would have cut bait on Studd. Let Earl Hebner, whoever, ref the match. And, again, I think if it wasn't Jake versus Andre here, we'd be saying, why didn't they blow that off? So I'd keep this one. I don't love it ultimately in the execution. Like John said, the whole time you're trying to believe that Jake's the face, but he's doing most of the heel work, trying to kill the Giant with the Snake. And so I don't love it. This is one of my least favorite matches on the card ultimately. And I just think they got backed into a corner. I think Big John Studd totally screwed him, and that's why he got cancer and died.
And also a big part of the big aura of Jake is the DDT, and it's almost impossible for him to get it on Andre. And they didn't really hype that up. That's another thing that Stud kind of got in the way of that. They should have been hyping. Oh, can Jake get the DDT on Andre because he's so big? But I didn't really hear too much about that in the build. It was convoluted with the Stud as the ref and the snake, and is Jake gonna break out the snake and Andre gonna have another heart attack and stuff? So they should emphasize the DDT more. That's Jake's big thing.
And Scott, it's clear they were trying to transition Jake into another feud with Andre, into the feud with Stud. So it's almost like this is a blow-off, but also a launch angle for 2 additional feuds, which, is fine, I guess, but it also feels a bit cheap in the execution, saying, okay, we put so much time and energy into this feud, and we're really just using it as a launching pad for 2 other feuds. I guess in a way they didn't want Andre to lose, and, he's going to be rehabbed, and Jake, again, how many heels can you go over? And it seemed like they put themselves in this position a few times on the show. I know it's an epidemic in the late 80s and in 1990 in WWF, but it's really on display on this card with 3 or 4, just shit finishes because they want to protect guys. So what did you think, Scott, of the execution? Would you have left it alone? Would you have done something different with Stud?
Well, I mean, we've been debating this or discussing it, not really debating it because we kind of agree, but we've been talking about it for months now that I don't know we're still not sure what the game plan was after Stud won the Rumble because, I mean, it was evident. We've watched a couple of things and he looks fucking terrible. I mean, moving around very slowly. Obviously he's looking for a paycheck right now, and that's pretty much all it is. And, Vince is trying to show some respect here to a guy that he helped, of all the guys early on in Hogan's 4-year run as champion in 84, one of the forgotten guys that put him over a ton was Stud. If you ever watch the first Hulkamania tape, him and Stud have a great cage match. I think it's St. Louis. Really good match. I was a big Stud guy in the mid 80s, but it's evident here that, I mean, he's got nothing left. I mean, he's in worse shape than Andre. And, so I don't know if just Vince didn't know what else to do at this point. Stud and Andre here would have been just unwatchable dreck. I mean, it would have been awful. I mean, awful. Nothing to hide, nothing to protect. It would have been a fucking mess. So I don't know if they were painted into a corner to the point where they really had no choice and just did this. Again, as for Jake's had a weird time the last year and a half. I mean, if you notice, JR, we don't see. I mean, let's be honest. How many MSG matches since his debut?
Not
many. Was what? Probably late 85.
He has not been on much.
How many MSG matches have we had? Maybe 5?
I don't know if we've had that many.
It's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird, right?
I think he's starting to be a guy that I'm looking at his career in the WWF, and the whole thing is kind of weird. He's such a staple, and he's around so long, but it feels like a lot of his stuff, I don't know. It's like he's around, and then he's kind of aimless, and then he's got these feuds, but they're not really being used. It just seems like he vanishes for stretches at a time in a way, but he's so synonymous. And maybe he's just a Cindy guy more than anything else. But I know we have another gap coming up because of legal issues, where he's not around.
Too much time on the pipe.
Yeah. Yep. He just misses these chunks of time for a guy that's such a synonymous with the WWF. I feel like from when he turns face till the end just seems so spotty in ways.
Yeah, sucking on that pipe too much.
Yeah. Well, I think we're going to document that more. I think this is really where he kicks in. I feel like the face turn.
But then he misses most of the year.
Yeah, I was about to say, although necessary probably because he was getting over with the fans, and then the injury and then other things, and he's vanished. He's gone. We don't even see him when I read the other cards, the other house shows at the beginning of episodes. I don't say his name at all.
Yeah.
So you're like, where the fuck is he?
It's weird.
It's crazy. So I do think, though, I will say this. I think from here, or from when we do the show next week, from that point, I definitely think 89, and obviously who he feuds with, we will definitely see an uptick of him. So maybe it was just kind of fumbling around with the issues and other stuff and injuries and what have you. Maybe he shakes that off. But, I mean, pretty much from mid-87 till now, we saw very little of Jake, except for, Saturday Night's Main Event, really. I don't see much anywhere else. I have a feeling that changes as we move forward, but definitely he's been kind of lost in the shuffle, big time.
Have any of you guys ever seen his live show?
I have not. John, you
No.
did, right?
Oh,
Yes, definitely. Twice. It's great.
It is so grim though. Like he tells like 2 funny stories, and the rest of it is like, and then I was on the crap pipe, and I didn't get to see my kids, and it's just like the saddest shit. He just sucks the air out of the room. Like in a vacuum, it's a great story to tell, and he does tell some funny ones like of like getting his cum into I think Mr. Perfect or Rick Rude's mouth. Well, Rick Rude into his mouth, like transferred through some ring rat whore. But so there's some funny shit in there. But man, is it grim. Like he actually demoed it in Buffalo, one of the first ones he did. And I went up to him after. I'm like, I don't know, man. Maybe just take a little bit of the sadness out. One last thing I want to say about Big John Studd before we move on is just his action figure, his LJN Hall of Fame wrestling action figure. One of the best of all time. We didn't have action figures if you didn't have that Big John Studd LJN. So I just wanted to give him that since I shit on him otherwise.
I mean, you said he died for lying to Vince or whatever.
Yeah, he paid the price. You don't do that to Vince. No. He owned many gas stations. He was the head of Big Gulps. So rest in peace, Big John.
All right, let's move on to our Intercontinental title match, The Ultimate Warrior versus Ravishing Rick Rude. Scott, you kind of veered off in a direction earlier. Rude as a potential challenger for I mean, would you actually look to change this match? And if you would, who else would you have put into the feud with Warrior besides Rude?
I mean, I just threw that out there as a secondary, but I don't think there's any doubt after the Rumble you have to have this match. There's no doubt about it. Rude's ready. Rude's earned it. I was just throwing it out there in case they wanted to try something else and maybe, do something in between and then still have the match at SummerSlam. But I think you need to have Warrior Rude here. There's no doubt about it. Secondary challengers? I mean, I don't know.
I think this is the match. I think you.
There's really nobody else. Yeah. I mean, we talked about it, JR, and we're going to document it a lot throughout '89. That the face side of the company is not great right now. It's not very deep. Beyond, say, I mean, it's deep, but not really. I mean, you have Hogan. Who would you say are the top guys? Hogan, Warrior, Beefcake?
Jake?
I guess. Jake?
I don't think Beefcake is.
I don't know. After what we were just talking about, Johnny, I don't know.
Well, I think Jake still is, but I just I think Duggan's ahead of Beefcake at this point, even.
Rooster? No, I'm only kidding.
No, I mean, it's such a tag, but it's such a heavy tag. Like, you got to put Demolition
That's what it
up
is.
there, you know? It's like, you got to put the Hearts up
Demolition's
there,
probably the most over. Yeah. They're probably like maybe number 3 behind Warrior and Hogan because, well, they have not all the belts, but Hogan doesn't, but it's Hogan.
Jake's definitely number 3 after Hogan and Warrior. They have him versus Andre. It's one of the top matches.
It's just amazing how he just was never on anywhere. I don't know if they were cutting him off the house show circuit because there's shit going on. Who knows?
Yeah,
but,
definitely.
Yeah, but I think that I don't think there's anything else. I mean, after the Rumble and the only problem was, I don't know, maybe it's the way that we're kind of looking at it now, the way the regional situation worked, because we didn't see a ton of Warrior. The only real, other than after the Rumble, the really only Warrior Rude interaction we saw at all was the whole, with the Savage Warrior match at the Garden in, what was it? I guess March, a couple weeks before the show, when Rude was part of it and all that kind of thing. Other than that, I mean,
they had some stuff on Superstars, right? I know in the summer it really picks up even more. But John,
the summer picks up
in the stuff you watched, or Steve?
Yeah, no, absolutely. They definitely were hyping it, and I think Scott, you said Rude's ready. I think Bobby is ready too, right? I mean, this is his first
absolutely.
title. Yeah, and it was he was just as much as ready for this moment as Rude was, and I know you guys are going to talk about the match next week. But I just want to tip my hat to the Ultimate Warrior for really carrying Rude in this match and getting the most out of him. So I just wanted to get that on the record.
Yeah, we'll get more into Warrior's work specifically next week. But yeah, I mean, it's a big moment for both guys. That was a callback,
I guess you guys.
Yeah,
I got it. I mean, I like it.
Yep. All right. It was a big moment for both guys. But yeah, no, I wouldn't touch this match. I just threw Rude out there just for shits. Because I remember a few episodes ago, JR, we were talking about the possibility of other opponents for Warrior here. But after the whole Bulwark and the thing at the Rumble, there's no doubt you do Warrior Rude. There's really no two ways about it, particularly what they plan on doing from here on out. So I wouldn't touch this match either. Or the ending. The ending's perfect.
Iconic Jesse call at the end, too.
Yes. I told you they'd outsmart this guy. Yeah.
They outsmarted him. Yeah, iconic.
Yeah. No, fantastic. No, I wouldn't touch this at all. Absolutely not.
John, any thoughts on the build here?
No, this was one of the few where the timing was perfect. They had the angle set up at Rumble, and they had the match at Mania. Perfect. Just the only thing that bothered me on the face when they replayed the angle from the Rumble was Warrior no selling when Bobby sprayed him in the eyes, and Warrior no sold it. And that was just a little thing that bothered me.
I was actually watching that with my daughter, and I wasn't really paying attention. She goes, "Look, Daddy, they're hitting him with a stick. They're hitting that guy with a stick." It was maybe I had a beer, but it was pretty funny. She was fired up. She did not. She likes the Warrior. I was surprised, but she was not happy that they were hitting him with a stick, as she called it.
So yeah, it sounds like Rude. So let's take Rude out. Let's say we know Scotty. We had him at the Rumble and all that. Like, it made sense. Let's say he's not in position. Let's say we don't even get that Rumble thing. Is there anyone else on this card? I want to kind of speak to I feel like there's a real imbalance right now. I think there's so much built into the tag division that I think the singles roster is actually a little bit thinner than you may remember from this time period. And then there's a real divide between high quality upper mid card guys and then like the low end guys, like a Haku.
I'll throw a name out.
Yeah, go ahead.
What about Bad News?
Yeah, I mean, sure.
Maybe.
Sure. I mean, is that lighting it on fire?
Because we're not doing.
I got DiBiase.
All right.
Give your thoughts on Bad News.
Clear, we're not doing a switch, right? We're just saying.
Right. Yeah. Just say going into the Rumble, Rude isn't ready. He's hurt. Whatever. Give me some. Whatever reason. Who's your 1B to get into the IC title picture with Warrior?
Maybe a little bit more thought on that. Would come up with a better name, but I kind of like the idea of Bad News because I really like some of the stuff that he would later do on the mic, like on the Brother Love show, some of the innuendos and how physical he got. Like, he showed a side of me, and I think that's after now. I'm pretty sure.
No, it was before. The stuff with Savage was before this. Yeah, with Liz and all that. Yeah,
Savage and Liz. Yeah, I think he showed a side of me during that he probably could have built a pretty good angle with Warrior because he talks better than I remember him talking. And I don't know, maybe that could have worked. I didn't put a ton of thought into it. I was just kind of looking at the card and think, maybe he could do it. I like the DiBiase idea too. And what about Mr. Perfect? Is Mr. Perfect ready?
No, I don't think he's ready. I think you do him a disservice by rushing him. I like his organic rise. John, what's your case for Ted? Yeah,
they've kind of set him up as a failure. He failed at WrestleMania 4, and then now this is a chance he's built up. He kind of won the feud with Hercules, so it would be a good way to build him back up and then finally give him that big win and show him that he could get a belt without having to buy one.
Do you guys agree that when you're talking that through, with the tag division weighing so heavily, do you agree that the singles roster is kind of thin a bit?
Yes.
There's no doubt it's thin. There's no doubt. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Particularly on the heel side.
Like I said, whenever I think of this Mania, in my head, Tag Team Mania.
Yeah. I mean, Haku?
Nah.
King versus... Because,
just saw him
the problem is most of these other... Yeah, well, yeah. And the problem is most of these heel matches would have to end in a shit show anyway. And how many shit show finishes do we need?
Right. Already got so many. It really is a tag. It's a tag promotion right now. It really is, outside of the main event.
Yeah, tagging up the towers. You take two monster heels and you kind of divide them.
Mm-hmm.
Because you could have two big heel matches with Bossman and Hakeem.
Now that Tito is a loser and Martel is free, is there a case to be made for Martel? I mean, I guess you can't do it here because you need
down the line.
Here, you got to build him up as a heel.
Yeah.
And you're not doing Andre. You know what I mean? So it's like things are thinning out fast. I guess you can see maybe why they eventually think to split the hearts to try and add some depth on that side. And then eventually the tower. So like you can tell they're trying to do a little bit of splitting up, but the tag division is so deep right now, it's crazy. I mean, they could have had two sets of tag titles easy. They could have had an undercard tag title. and really focus. But 88 to 89 is very much a tag team promotion for the most part in the WWF. So, all right, let's talk main event. Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, and Mega Powers explode. I think, we've covered a lot of the build already. I don't think I would change a thing at all here. I do know there's a thought around from some that could you have had Savage win? I guess we'll say that for next week, but that doesn't really talk to the build. Anything, John, you would change in the lead up here? Would you have kept Liz at ringside the way they did? Anything about it that you're doing differently?
Just maybe have a Macho even be more of a dick to Liz. Kind of eliminate that, whose corner will she be in. And just have Liz come out and back Hulk from the start to really enrage Macho instead of I think it was a lot of waste of time. They even had the on the face to face they had Sherry and Rockin' Robin, I guess, for the match that never happened. But all they did was debate like whose corner Liz should be in. And of course, Robin took Hulk's side, and then Sherry said that she should be in Macho's, and Sherry was praising Macho, which is a little foreshadowing. And I won't give any spoilers, but yeah, that would be the only thing. But otherwise, everything was done perfectly. This is you can't really quibble too much with what they did.
Steve, do you feel Savage is built up strongly enough? Did he seem like an actual guy that could beat Hogan after his year-long title reign, everything he's been through? Or did he feel like a guy that was keeping the seat warm, and he only lasted because Hogan wasn't challenging him? Because I felt that a bit, like heading in. Like whenever I think of the big Mania money matches, you think of Hogan Andre, you think of Hogan Warrior, Hogan Rock. Like they all have a little bit of doubt, right? Like Hogan Warrior, either guy could win that. You could make the case that Andre, like they could give him his crowning moment. Like unlikely, but maybe. Hogan Rock, big question. Hogan Savage to me never seemed to have that level of doubt, and maybe because I just wasn't watching at the time, but that falls more in the bucket of a Hogan Slaughter, Savage. Well, I think Savage Flair was a little bit up in the air, but I'm trying to think of ones where it's like, I'm not saying it's not a great match, but for Hogan big money Bundy matches, it feels a little bit more clear where they're headed.
You might be right about that, but that might be a product of the story that they told, and the story that they told, I mean, we're 20 years later, and it's still one of the best stories the promotion has ever told. And I think that, like you said, I see your point a little bit. I will say it. I don't remember what show it was, but it might have been a Saturday Night's Main Event I was watching, and Savage had a defense, and it was Jesse who made the point. He's like, Savage has been a fighting champion. He's fought everyone. I think they did a good job in that year putting Savage out there. A lot of time he got to spend the year as a face for a lot of time with the crowd behind him, and he did. I mean, he's one of the greatest of all time. I mean, he did everything they asked of him. The thing is, and it's part of the problem with the faces, right? Like we've heard so many of them complain that spot behind Hogan, no matter where you were, was almost impossible because he sucks a little bit of the air out of the room. I mean, he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. He's the biggest of all time at this point in the business by 35 miles. And I mean, I know I would go to a pay-per-view as a 9-year-old and say, Hulk's going to win it today. I just always thought Hulk was going to win it. I always believed in Hulk. When he lost that match with the twin Hebners, I mean, my jaw hit the floor. Like, I couldn't believe it. And I was 8 years old. It was the biggest shock in my life. Like, I could not believe Hulk Hogan could lose. So I think any of his matches, I mean, even against Andre, it's still, I thought Hulk's going to find a way. At some point in this match, he's going to Hulk up and he's going to slam that fat bastard. That's how I felt. So I see what you're saying, but I think it's just a product of who and what Hulk Hogan was in 1989. And I just think they told a terrific story. But I do agree with John. Great point. I think you get rid of the wish-washy Liz stuff and just have her, go on the face side, because that's kind of where she is in the feud, in my opinion. So I thought that was a great point. I hope I answered your question, Justin.
No, you did. It was a good answer. Scott, what do you think of Savage as a threat? And then would you have changed anything about the build?
Steve hit the nail on the head in a part of his analysis, and that's Jesse. Jesse was not going to. This begins the stretch where we start taking Jesse legitimately seriously as a guy who's not fucking around anymore. As a matter of fact, I can see we're starting here. Vince probably started getting aggravated with him as an announcer because he's making it almost too legit. And let's be honest, there have been plenty of times where Gorilla got painted into a corner and ended up looking like a moron on commentary. Because Jesse pretty much legitimately says that this whole thing is Hogan's fault. He's getting grabby with Elizabeth and all this other stuff. And I mean, listen, that match in Milwaukee, look at the basics. You got to think of the logic here. Unless, and maybe I'll have to give Steve Willie shit for this, but maybe there's no Wisconsin ambulance corps. There's no, fucking EMTs or anywhere. Why would a wrestler pick up their manager and leave their guy to get the shit kicked out of him in the middle of a match? It just makes no sense. We have to figure out how to make sense.
She's a squished female on the floor. Somebody.
Yes, and of course, and what does Gorilla say?
They weren't there.
But what does Gorilla say? Oh, it must have been an accident. No, Gorilla, he told Boss Man, do me a favor, throw me into my manager, dipshit. You know what I'm saying? Like, what the fuck? I mean, to have that shit is starting to really, the more we analyze, the older we get, and the more we watch stuff from this stretch, the stupider it sounds. Thank God for Jesse. So I got to tell you, JR, I never really saw any holes in Savage as a legit world champion. He worked his ass off. Think about it. They gave him the Garden all year in 1988.
Right, but to my question is that because Hogan was on his side? Like, all he's done and all he's beaten and all he's faced, was it because Hogan was kind of off to the side? As soon as he's up against Hogan, do you still feel like he was a dominant enough champion to win this match? No, I don't think you can. like I don't think he was ever put in a position as great as a workhorse champion as he was. Like, what did he ever do to make you feel like he could hang and beat Hulk Hogan? They still never put him in a position to feel that way. That's my thought.
It's very difficult to.
It's almost impossible to do it, though. I think because
I have to agree with Steve. I think it is impossible to do. How do you do it? Do you have them? I mean, they're already. You're not going to wrestle them beforehand, obviously.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, I think.
Yeah, like what Steve was saying before, they didn't really. You didn't think anybody would beat Hogan, and especially after he vanquished Andre, that everybody else is just going to be a step down.
Yeah, that's really what it is. I mean, on the one hand, JR, you're right, but on the other hand, you really can't blame Savage for that.
No, I'm not blaming him at all. I'm just saying, to me, it's why this never felt like a huge, even though it's just such a big feud and big time match, it never felt like that big Clash of Titans money match, like a Hogan Andre, a Hogan Warrior, Hogan Rock, and Austin Rock, because of that foregone conclusion feeling to me.
No, that makes sense. But I think instead of using what I would have done for the build, if you wanted to get the Elizabeth, because the Elizabeth thing really put them in a weird spot. What I would have done was I would have had the Mega Powers, and I would have had like live. I would have had like a couple Science main events where, let's say Savage has a title match, and and Hogan comes out and helps him, and he wins on his own or whatever. And then Hogan has a match later, and Savage is like, "No, man, I'm too beat up. He's fine. He can deal." I know they tried that, but they should have kept going with that. And we have a tag. We're in a tag team match tonight. Nah, I'm not feeling that great. Nah, don't worry about it. Have somebody else tag with you, or have Savage go out there and be like, he could do this, and doesn't want to tag in. You're like, nah, I'm good, kind of thing, and maybe be like, he cares more about being champion than he does our partnership, and then Savage snaps and beats the shit out of him. So you could find a way to make Savage an actual heel where you're not have any sympathy, and B, not have Elizabeth as the pawn. You have Elizabeth maybe say, Randy, Hogan's trying to blah, 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 and you're like, shut up, bitch, or something, say or something like that, and then maybe you can find a way to have Savage without any sympathy. Because let's be honest, if you look at this build at face value, he's got a ton of sympathy.
I don't think so. I totally take the other side. I think Savage was totally irrational. Hogan was just part of a team. He loved Liz because she was part of the Mega Powers. She was his manager, and I don't see the lust in his eyes. I think he's just being friends, and I think Macho's jealous rage has clouded his vision, and I totally buy it. I think they did an amazing job telling that story, and I think Jesse does an amazing job questioning it, and it made me, furious with Jesse, which is exactly what he was supposed to do. And I think Gorilla did a great job of pushing back and saying, look at Hulk. Hulk is just wants the Mega Powers to work and cares about Liz as much as Randy as a friend. It's not, I don't know. I thought they told an amazing story, and I totally buy it, even still today. Like I said, I've been watching a lot of this stuff back with my daughter, and I mean, nothing makes her pop more than when Liz goes to the back to get Hogan on the few occasions he does. Like you mentioned, she loves that. But I mean, I just thought, man, I thought they told an amazing story. I'm surprised to hear you so against it.
I just don't think that. I disagree with you. I don't think Gorilla did a very good job at all, to be honest. I think Jesse totally schooled him, as we've been watching.
Yeah, but even so,
stuff.
I mean, Jesse's building heat, so he should kind of school him a little bit.
Yeah, but see, Steve, it's supposed to be the opposite. Jesse's the one that's not supposed to make any sense, or be reaching for straws. Gorilla was the one that was reaching for straws, not Jesse. Jesse was making sense, and he was painting a better picture when it was Gorilla that should have been painting the better picture, and he wasn't.
I totally disagree with Jesse, though. I don't think Hogan's lusting, so I totally disagree with Jesse right off the top. I don't think Hogan's the luster. I don't buy that.
Yeah, no,
so I totally disagree with him right off the top.
Well, see, I think it definitely came off. It definitely. Well, again, Jesse says, I'm sorry, the Gorilla's line on that Science Main Event when he goes, oh, it doesn't seem like Randy wanted to hit her. It had to have been an accident, right? Yes, Boss Man or Akeem, I don't remember which one it was. I think it was Boss Man, right? He threw her into her. So what did Savage say? So listen, I want to hit my manager, so throw me on that side. Like, come on, Gorilla. That was dumb. That was a dumb
He should have focused more on his indifference after he hit her.
Exactly.
So if they made a mistake, that's what it was.
And instead, you find EMTs or ambulance. No, instead, Hogan picks her up, leaves his guy to get the shit kicked out of him, so he could lift up a girl, not knowing what her neck is. If we're talking about legit logic here, Steve, you don't lift somebody up off the fucking ground and just walk her out there like she didn't know. She could have had a broken neck or whatever. Nobody's saying these things. I was lift him up while Savage is getting fucking murdered in the ring. And then he stays there holding her. Oh, my God. Oh, where the fuck are all the EMTs? Where's the fucking ambulance people in the back? The medical
they weren't there.
Drops her on a fucking bench.
So he had to do something. They weren't there.
No, that's not his job. His job is to go in there and defend and tag with his guy and let the staff deal with it.
So that's if you and Justin are teaming up and you go flying out of the ring and squish Megan to death, you're just going to be like, Justin, listen, I don't want you helping your wife. I'm not going to help your wife. Let's focus on this tag match here. Well, I'm sure an EMT will come down eventually.
EMTs would come.
You just leave her laying on the ground? Like, what's the option?
In fairness, this did happen in the beer pong tournament. It was alcohol, not a shot to the face that knocked the girl out. But
wife has ever been knocked on her ass, all right? But I think that Jeff maybe, I mean, that's close enough. But no, I mean, my point is, they should be. Where are they? Shouldn't they be at ringside already, or whatever? My point is
right, but they weren't there, so you got to get over that because they're not there.
Okay, so
given the hand that's dealt, what do you do? Just leave Liz laying and wrestle?
Randy, I'm gonna let you sit there, and you're gonna have to face two fucking 485-pound guys while I pick your manager / well, not wife, but your manager
you
up.
At that point, Scott, what do you do instead? You just leave her laying on the ground?
Well.
And hope someone shows up?
Maybe Hogan stays there. You bring the EMTs to ringside, and then you go back and wrestle the fucking match.
But again, they're not there. You have to play the cards that are dealt. You keep mentioning these invisible EMTs that don't exist. There's no EMTs.
Not an expert in medical should just drape, Elizabeth's neck could be fucking broken. Let's just lift her up and drag her.
He's acting on instinct. He wants to get her in a position to be helped. He looks around. There's no one there. He wants to help this 85-pound female who just got squished by the world champion, being thrown out of the ring by the big boss man.
Why does Hogan tell Savage, why don't you go take your wife in the back? I'll take care of these fucking guys. No, he leaves him there to get the shit beat out of him because he was already.
I'm still waiting for your solution. So your solution is that Hogan says, "Hey, Randy, time out. Come out here. Listen, you need to get your,
He's
your
already
bitch back."
just got thrown into her. He just got thrown into her. Maybe this is Vince's fault. Maybe he wanted
Anyone else?
Steve, how can you defend? Yeah, I want to wait. Steve, I just got to ask you, how can you defend on that one shot where Macho had Liz on his shoulders and Hogan to help her up? He grabbed a handful of cheek for about 15 seconds. Handful of Liz's cheek on his shoulder. How do you defend that? No, they had video. It was a full-on grab of a red cheek for about 15 seconds. How do you defend that?
It was her hip.
Anyway, I guess
I gotta look at that footage.
I think the doctored footage. Yes. Other than that, it's very difficult. That's why I think, and we'll get to it more, JR, and Johnny, when we talk about it next week, when we talk about the actual match. Jesse, legitimately, I mean, that was a shoot. I think we can all comfortably say that anything involving certain guys in the company from WrestleMania 5 till Jesse leaves is the shoot, whether it's Dusty or whoever, fucking Warrior, whatever. That tirade or that diatribe that Jesse goes on while Savage is walking down the ramp is legit shoot because he knows he's losing. And he thinks it's fucking bullshit, and he's going to say it. So, I mean, Jesse, if this was Bobby, Steve, you and I wouldn't be having this debate. Because Bobby isn't taken seriously, whereas Jesse is taken seriously. And if you're the heel, you're not totally supposed to be taken seriously. And I feel like Gorilla never prepared himself for when Jesse outwitted him. And it only really happened during this feud. There would be occasional matches. JR and I have done MSG house shows, the few that Gorilla's done, where he's gotten painted into a corner and said something dumb, and then we moved on. But it was definitely here where Jesse actually probably should have amped it back and let Gorilla look better. Instead, he just couldn't. He hated Hogan so much that I think he purposely wanted Hogan to look like a douche, and then Hogan into a corner, Gorilla into a corner where he couldn't, where he had to sound illogical to make Hogan look like a good guy. So you could blame Jesse for that. You could blame Jesse's hatred for Hogan in real life, for the Union and whatever fucking else went down behind the scenes, to make this almost too illogical that Savage looks like a victim. Who knows? In any event,
the only solution is Jesse should have came out of retirement after WrestleMania 5 and took care of Hogan
like
himself.
you said.
Only solution. Yep.
But I think, I mean, Johnny's got a point that, and you didn't really think about it till I heard it said. It is true that after you beat Andre, what the fuck's left? It's fucking Andre, man. It's Andre, and he pinned him.
And not only that, Scott. Okay, the one loss. Look how they portrayed it, Hogan's one loss. Where he kicks out at 1.5 on a stupid, shitty suplex, and they have to bring triplet. Double referees. And that's the only way to beat the Hulk.
So JR, you're absolutely right. They did this to themselves. You think that Savage can't beat him because the company makes you think he can't beat him. Mm-hmm. And when he's the heel, that's wrong. That's stupid. That's bad booking. Right. It's supposed to be the other way around. The babyface is supposed to be the underdog. Instead, and I think that's why Jesse gets so pissed off when the match starts, Savage comes off as the underdog, and then he ends up. Well, we'll get to it next week, but that's where the WWF kind of fucked themselves here because they
sold 700,000 pay-per-views. This angle was over incredibly.
Mm-hmm. Of course, it was over.
Did they really fuck themselves? I mean, they sold 700,000 pay-per-view, the most ever.
Yeah. No, they definitely didn't fuck themselves. I was looking at it more. I mean, it took us 25 minutes, but I'm glad we all agree. It's more, to me, it was more the match's legacy as a iconic WrestleMania money match. Like, yes, they drew, it worked. I don't think there's any doubt to any of that. And it was a good debate you guys just had. My thought was just more.
Yeah, it's fun.
I never saw Savage as that threat. It always just felt like a Hogan, layup match to me, like along the lines of like a Slaughter or like an Austin and Rock at 15, like one of those where it's just it just felt a little foregone. So to me, that prevents it from elevating into that upper echelon of the Hogan Warrior, Hogan Andre, the group I keep mentioning, because those felt like a big deal because both guys felt like they were on even playing field and it could go either way. Like those are the huge money matches. This felt like the culmination of a wonderful story with an obvious finish. So why don't we just...
One last thing and I'll tap out. Just let me say one last thing and I'll tap out on this. One thing I will say, though, is when you look back at, what are they, 35 WrestleManias or whatever now, and even in 1989, because I lived it and I remembered it, this felt like a huge deal. Like, this felt like a main event.
Oh, there's no doubt. I agree with you.
Yeah,
100%.
so I just got to give it that. Yeah, I totally agree with what Justin said, that I never felt like Hulk was going to lose it, but I never felt like Hulk was ever going to lose. So I almost don't penalize Randy for that. And when I go back and rank WrestleManias or think about WrestleManias or think about 9-year-old Steve strolling into my friend Don's house who had the cheater box so I could watch it, it felt like a big deal, these two guys wrestling. So
yep, it did.
I got to give it that.
No, I did. It absolutely did. And, I mean, obviously we're using 2019 thinking to talk about 1989 booking, which
and we're nitpicking
about in 1989.
Too.
What's that?
And we're nitpicking. We're nitpicking.
Well, we are. No, we absolutely are.
Yeah.
We're just doing it for the sake of having a good time and we're having a fun discussion about it. But in the grand scheme of things, that match sold the show. I'm not. I mean, all right. I wasn't saying the WWF fucked themselves and oh my god they put on a shitty main event. No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is if you're looking at it on a grand scale, like I said, I think Jesse. It's almost like Jesse took this match too seriously, and I keep using him because Jesse's just so fucking good at what he does. Mm-hmm. He was legit. I mean, you could hear it in his voice. I mean, we used to say that about Dusty, man. I mean, when we get a year later at Skydome, I know we're going to get all over that. They're going to love that match. But that's just Jesse. He's, he goes over the top. That's just how he is. That's why he's the greatest color guy of all time. And I think he almost killed the buzz of what this match was supposed to be by almost making it too believable that Savage is walking into, walking to the gallows as he's going down the Trump ramp or whatever, So. Anyway, but I mean, it's regardless, the two biggest guys in the company are selling out this place, and the buy rates are through the roof. So they both deserve. And also on the same night. Well, we'll get into what else was going on that night next week. But
okay.
Anyway.
John, real quick, Sherry Robin, hyped on the face-to-face. We all dodged a bullet, right? That they decided not to put that match on the show.
Yeah, that's a slam dunk. Like I had mentioned before, they didn't even talk about the match. They just asked them whose corners Liz is going to be. So that pretty much sealed their fate
right.
as far as the disastrous end to the women's program right there.
Yeah, it's dead in the water. I mean, if they didn't have, it's been a pretty active year for that title, and if they didn't see fit to have that match here, then they're not getting anything.
Right. Yeah, and Sherry saw the writing on the wall because we'll see where she transitions into.
Mm-hmm. All right. I wanted to really just quickly talk about the venue, and then we'll build our card. Trump Tower for a second year, Atlantic City. Steve, hit or miss?
Oh, I think it's a hit because I love the kind of the mega powers are born at Atlantic City and Trump Tower, and they explode there. So I kind of love that part of it. And I mean, this card, when you look at it, is really about the mega powers exploding. So I like that. And also, I think it looks really cool. And I've always loved how it looked. I mean, I remember the first time I spotted it, on television, thought, wow, that's a really cool place. I mean, obviously, it's not as cool as it looked on TV in reality, but no, I'm all for it. I just love it as part of the story. The mega powers are born there, and they explode there.
What do you think, John, of the venue?
I think it's a miss. It's a hit financially, but it's a miss as far as the optics and me. I'm big on crowd noise, and I don't like how the laid back crowds in the AC manias. So I'm down on it.
Scott?
I always thought it was an odd place because there was no there was no upper decks, or it was just like a flat floor, and then there were risers. I always thought that was very strange considering. And also, this is probably the last venue or the last year where WrestleMania was at a place where they just wanted to get people in the building, whether they're wrestling fans or not. They're next to a casino, sipping the joy juice, as Jesse said. The following year, I think is the first WrestleMania where now we want wrestling fans in the building, not just people pulling the fucking yanking the arm on the slots. They wanted to be in the building. This isn't just like, hey, I know you're playing canasta or whatever, fucking Caribbean poker, but we got wrestling over here if you want to come over. I think this was the last year where they just did that.
Well, it's clear that was a paid Trump thing, right? I mean, a status thing. I'm sure they got paid pretty well by Trump, and Trump probably took the whatever was per ticket sold, whatever, or given away. I guess it was more of a status thing in a way to get folks in the building. So, I do like the look of the arena stuff. I do like the continuity to Steve's point. I'm curious what size building they could have sold out with this card with Hogan Savage. Like, I don't think you fill in the Silver Dome, and I don't know if you even fill in the Sky Dome, maybe. I'm curious what they could have done without Trump, Trump Tower, because they haven't really been in just a standard arena since 2 when they did the 3 shows. So, I mean, could they have gone back to MSG already? Could they have done Chicago for a full show? Like, it's kind of curious where they could have possibly ended up if not here. But I think they had this thing booked a year out.
Yeah, I bet you it was booked when they booked 4. I bet you they did a two show deal. Yep. I think they booked it when they booked it for 4.
I agree.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it,
the right answer.
Philly, Spectrum.
Well,
they were going there in the fall. Oh no, they weren't. That was the following year. Never mind.
Well, and they were doing the Meadowlands, so 2 in Jersey in a year is pretty funny. It's kind of the year of Jersey, right? Because there's no MSGs over the summer because of the building being renovated, and they do Meadowlands a bunch. So it's a very Jersey year for '89.
Meanwhile, it's funny WrestleMania doesn't go back to Jersey for 24 years. It's just pretty funny. But I can't think of any other venue. I mean, Boston.
Philly. Boston. If you don't go there, you go Spectrum, or
Boston, or the Garden,
or Boston. Yeah.
Because they haven't done a huge show there yet. We don't get a pay-per-view there for what, 4 years?
Right.
Isn't
that crazy?
93?
Survivor Series 93.
Yeah,
Isn't that crazy that they didn't do I mean, Boston's a big spot, epic house shows, and they never did a pay-per-view there. Kind of nuts.
I think it's Boston or Philly.
Boston or Philly. No, I think Steve's right. Boston or Philly. Yeah.
All right, let's put our card together. Here's the matches. Haku DiBiase, Hercules DiBiase, Beefcake Haku, Duggan and the Bushwhackers versus the Rougeaus and Bravo, Garvin versus Perfect, Blazer versus Bad News, Hearts Rhythm and Blues, Rockers Brainbusters, Strikeforce Towers, Demolition Powers of Pain Fuji, Jake Andre, and then the 3 bigs. Warrior Rude, Rooster Heenan, Hogan Savage. So what are we going with an opener? Do we want to open with Rockers Busters? Do we want to open with Beefcake Haku?
Yeah, Rockers Busters, definitely.
John,
definitely.
you good?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then do we want to go Beefcake Haku?
That's what I was thinking.
Cool the crowd a bit.
Haku next. Yeah.
Okay.
And then Blazer, maybe Bad News third.
Or Herc DiBiase, or do you want to save that?
Let's just stack them. Let's stack them together. Put them as the
you could do them back to back, but I would do Blazer before him. I would.
I think we got to break it up. We got a bunch of tags, so you got to stick a tag in here.
Yeah, we got to be careful.
Mm.
How
about the 6-man third?
Yeah,
and then
let's
Blazer, Bad News.
Okay. Then Blazer, Bad News, then Herc DiBiase.
Mm.
And then I think you go with your tag title, kind of around the same area that it was in anyway.
Right.
Then Garvin
Good
Perfect.
Call.
Yeah, Garvin Perfect is a good palate cleanser after the tag.
Then you do your Strike Force.
You know what we didn't talk about? What are we doing with Run DMC and Brother Love? Are they still welcome? Or have we?
I think we see, I'm torn on Run DMC as a thing because I keep Brother Love, but I cut that down. I dump Morton Downey, and I just
Morton Downey's out.
He's out. I just do Brother Love and Piper, and that's it. Or just do Piper and Downey and get rid of Brother Love. One of the 2 of the 3. We didn't need all 3. It's too much. And then for Run DMC, like, it's a good get. Like, I think it's an underrated get. Like, when you ever talk about the big celebs they landed, like, Run DMC in '89 is a pretty big land. But the segment is so poorly done that I'm fine if you dump it, but I think it's a cool get. So I almost just hope it goes better. You know what I mean?
Oh, and I don't bother doing that weird, awkward Snuka return thing either. I would just blow that off and do it on the. I would blow that off and do it on the Cindy's or something. Or maybe the next Saturday. Or maybe the next. Actually, I would probably save it and maybe do it on the next Saturday's main event.
Or just have him come out like not during the intros of a match. Like maybe he's just at the top of the ramp. You know what I mean?
Maybe have him come out with Piper.
Nah, I would
and the two of them beat up Brother Love.
Or just do what you do with Jesse, like posing, like, ladies and gentlemen, Jimmy Snuka, and he's like at the top of the ramp, does the "I love you" and then leaves,
and then kill someone.
Yeah.
It happened.
I wanted to just say this about Morton Downey. Least surprising lung cancer death this side of Mrs. Draper, for sure. So, but I just wanted to say that. So rest in peace, Morton.
Morton Downey was the inspiration for Jussie Smollett. He years earlier he had faked something where he said he got beat up in the airport and he drew a swastika on his head, on his forehead was backwards. Yeah, he was the inspiration for Jussie Smollett.
What a legacy.
Yep.
All right, here's the card we're putting together. I organized the back end of it because I think it's pretty easy how it falls. So we got 13 matches. So we've cut a match. We've combined into two. So we tightened it just a smidge. But because of our parameters, we had to leave every match on the card. You know, we're only going to be able to cut it too much because they're not doing multiple 6-mans. We know that probably. So, and then if you want to cut a little bit more time, I say we dump Brother Love and just do Piper Downey, and then we just do Run DMC, and then we're out there. All right, so we got Rockers Brainbusters, our new opener. Brutus Beefcake versus Aku. Duggan and the Bushwhackers versus the Rougeaus and Dino Bravo. Blue Blazer versus Bad News Brown. Hercules versus Ted DiBiase. Demolition versus Powers of Pain and Mr. Fuji. Ronnie Garvin versus Mr. Perfect. Strike Force versus the Twin Towers. Jake the Snake versus Andre the Giant. The Hart Foundation against Honky and Greg Valentine. Warrior Rude, Rooster Heenan, Hogan Savage.
Boom.
Yeah, it's good.
It's no WrestleMania 3, but it's good.
It's tight. I think it's an interesting show because we've actually lost some of the best matches in a way, but I think the ones we've replaced with have the potential to be just as good and maybe at least pays off some of the feuds that were leading up to the show.
Right.
So there you go. If you have a suggestion and you want to share what you would do with this card, you can hit us up on social media or at bigelow34.proboards.com in the Place to Be podcast section of the message board and share your thoughts on what your card would be if you liked ours or if you had something better. Remember the parameters of using everyone that was included.
Yeah.
All right. Johnny, anything you want to plug?
This week in sports, me and Cowboy trying to get on a regular bi-weekly schedule. Last week we spit on the draft analysis, and I didn't kill myself talking about my Giants, and I'm still here. And NBA playoff second round preview, and we're going to keep up with it.
All right, very good. Steve, anything plans for you to get back into the groove?
Just want to plug a couple things. I was on the March 21st episode of the Richard Deitch Sports Media podcast. It was pretty cool. Conrad Thompson was on, Emily Kaplan, Greg Wyshynski, and myself. I actually pitched Richard the idea to do a media roundtable based on podcasts, and I said you should tier it and get like a top guy and then someone who's in the middle that's in a network, and then I said maybe an independent guy like, me. And he actually loved the idea, and he did it, and I was on it, and it was really fun, and it was really cool to be on it. So it's the March 21st episode of the Sports Media Podcast with Richard Deitch. So please check that out and tell Richard that I was really good on it because maybe he'll have me back. And also next week I'm going to be on the Quaz, which is a question and answer thing that Jeff Pearlman has done over 400 times on jeffpearlman.com. So if you check out jeffpearlman.com and click on Quaz, there's 400 plus of them to check out. And then I'm going to be on next week. So if you could check that out and let Jeff know that I was good on that too, that'd be great. And the Sportscasters will be back hopefully by the end of this week. I'm out to some of my heavy hitters, hopefully to come back with something great. And also I do this thing on the show every week called One Last Thing, where I talk about my life, and I will absolutely tell the whole story of what's happened to me the last month and how it's affected my daughter and my family. And I try to go as far as I can in that personally to show a different side of me. So if you check out at sports_casters on Twitter, you can probably find out when that posts and how I did with booking the first episode back. And thank you to everyone on the Place to Be Nation who has sent out wishes and prayers, and everyone in the Madden group who's been patient with me, and just means a lot because it's not easy to have a bowel resectioning and get an ileostomy and go through all this shit. It sucks, but I mean, I can handle it. I'm not complaining. Plenty of people with worse, but I just really want to thank everyone from Place to Be Nation who's been really cool and in the chats and all that. It means a lot to wake up from surgery and, you know, see 20 messages from people all around the country just telling you to feel better. So it meant a lot, and thank you.
Scott?
Yeah, well, we're glad you're back, Steve, and doing well. We did have to push a main event a week, just scheduling issues last week. We just couldn't fit it, but we will be back this week. It'll be myself and Nate and Mr. Andy Atherton. We're going to do the wrestling version of the Great Debate, where we'll do some wrestling discussions, and we will probably do our New Japan Classic match picks, where we will talk about Kazuchika Okada and two of his matches during his epic 720-day reign as the IWGP Heavyweight Champion. So that'll be, I think we're recording Wednesday, and of course that'll post Friday morning.
All right, very good. Rumors are in the air. Potential return. No holds barred this week. We'll see if the stars align. Other than that, though, I'll just point you over to, like I mentioned earlier, Wrestling Warzone and Jeff Owens Wrestling, both hits over the past week. So be sure to check them out. All right, PlaceNation.com each and every day. Facebook.com/PlaceNation. Twitter, Place2BNation as well. For Scott, for Steve, for Johnny, and me, we'll be back a week from tonight. WrestleMania 5 will be happening. Everyone take care. We'll talk to you then.
Okay.
Shitty Wisconsin EMTs. Where were you?
Yo, Scott and Justin.